Hey, let me ask you a question. What's more dangerous, falling coconuts or shark attacks? Well, the answer is falling coconuts. More people are killed and injured per year by falling coconuts than by shark attacks. But if you're vacationing on beautiful tropical island, walking down the beach, you're not paying attention, you're not worried, you're not concerned about falling coconuts. However, you dip your toes in the water, now all of a sudden we're thinking about Jaws and maybe some of the other shark movies. Well, why is that? That's our brain at work. It doesn't check the facts. It takes a shortcut. It's called an availability heuristic. We know about Jaws. We know about shark attacks. They make the news. When was the last time you saw a horror movie about coconuts? There's none. You didn't, right? And so, what does that have to do with persuasion? It is a mental shortcut called a heuristic, and those are how our brain works. We make decisions all the time. And so, this opens the door to be persuaded. So, let's start setting the foundation. Heuristics lead to biases, and that opens the door for persuasive opportunities. Heuristics are mental shortcuts. We use them to make fast decisions without effort. For example, this feels familiar, so it must be good. And then biases are predictable patterns that emerge from those shortcuts. They're not necessarily mistakes, they're built in. I call them glitches. Let's say, for an example, that you go to a restaurant and the waitress brings over a $200 bottle of wine because you asked for wine. And you're thinking in your head, like, I just want to spend $20 for a bottle of wine. And then you're like, that's crazy. It's $200. And then she comes back and she's like, oh, I have this $60 bottle of wine. What happens is because of that first one was $200, that second one, we think it's significant. We think it's such a deal that we'll often just go with it without any further thinking. Our mental shortcut, right? It's called anchoring. We looked at that first one and then that second one, and our mentality and our concern and our alertness was up for the $200, and it was removed for that $60 bottle of wine. And so now we just paid 3 times the amount that we tended to pay because of that mental shortcut, that heuristic. And it led us to this bias, which then led us to being able that we were persuaded and spent 3 times the amount. So heuristics are the shortcuts, bias are the patterns those shortcut creates, and persuasion works by tapping into those patterns. So why do we need to know this? So the reason we need to know this is because if we know that people are making decisions instinctively, reactively, in a blink, then we can craft and reframe and make sure that our ask, the thing that we want to get somebody to say a yes to, or a group of people to say yes to, well, we can craft it. And we're going to use this as the foundation to be able to get them to say yes to what we want. We're going to guide them. They're going to get there. This isn't just a class. This is a life skill. This isn't a course about tricking people. There's a difference between persuasion and manipulation, which we'll get to in the next slide. It's about deeply understanding the mechanics of influence so that you can navigate your daily life, because this happens all the time. After this course, you'll realize dozens of times a day that this has happened. So you're going to be able to navigate it strategically, in your favor, and ethically. Every interaction you have, from friends and family to some professional setting, involves elements of persuasion. So this class is about uncovering and using the science behind these influences. Well, you got to look forward to something. So here's what you're going to walk away with. You're going to clearly understand why some arguments fall flat and others persuade people. You're going to understand this psychology that advertisers use to get us to buy things. It happens every day. We are bombarded with this, and there's a lot of money and a lot of effort that they put in to be able to persuade us. Some of them manipulate. Another story next. We're going to be able to clearly identify trustworthy sources. Could be a news source, could be a person, it could be an organization. We're going to realize, like, why do we trust this particular one? and we don't trust that one. And how can we be that trusted source? We're going to learn how to be persuasive ethically so you can discover strategies that are rooted in influence. You'll also be able to gain the ability to recognize when some of these things are being used on you. And then I want to make a great effort that you walk away with very specific things you could jot down and apply to your life. So there's going to be wait, we have to distinguish persuasion versus manipulation. It's one of the most common questions that I have is like, isn't this learning how to be manipulative? No, it's not. Persuasion is it's a healthy thing. We do it every day. We couldn't survive without it. We couldn't just do everything somebody else wants us to do or do something in a manner at work or at home in a way everybody else wants. No, we have thoughts, we have ideas, we have beliefs, we have passions. We're driven by things, ideas, and we want to get those across, or at least we want to get them across so they're considered. And so being persuasive is a very healthy and natural thing. But there's persuasion, darker, evil cousin, manipulation. So when people are manipulative, well, it's a whole different ballgame, right? So let's start. Persuasion is ethical. It's transparent. It's a win-win situation, and it's sustainable. However, manipulation is a win-lose situation. The manipulator wants to win at your expense. It's not transparent. It's opaque, hiding, distorting facts. And what it does is it removes the autonomy from the other person or the group because they're making a decision that is not an honest set of facts that they get to base their decision on. Let's say you're going to go to dinner and you want to go to restaurant A and your friend wants to go to restaurant B. If you're going to be persuasive, you might say, I really want to go to A. We've talked about A. You've said A was an interest to you. So if we go, let's go to B next week and I'll buy drinks. That would be a persuasive effort. And there's a million ways that you can go ahead and be persuasive in that manner, which, we'll talk about a lot of them. However, a manipulative approach would be, I know you want to go to restaurant B, but I really want to go to A. Let me tell you, I just read this review on your restaurant, and you read some scathing review, right? Because all restaurants, even with good reviews have some bad ones. And so what you've done is you've cherry picked a review, right? Maybe their restaurant has stellar, astronomically better reviews, but you cherry picked one bad one and that's what you went ahead with. And so you didn't say, oh, by the way, your restaurant has 4.9 stars, mine has 4 stars. You just picked that one thing. And so what you did is you took their autonomy away because now they're making a decision that's not really their own. They're like, oh, wow, it is a worse rated restaurant. So let's go to your restaurant. So that's the difference between persuasion and manipulation. Another thing before we move on to remember is it's not sustainable manipulation. You could use it and it's probably more powerful because you're lying, right? You're distorting the facts to get somebody to, agree with you, to say yes to the thing that you want. But it's not sustainable. How many times could you do that before some friend or family member or coworker realized that you are not a trustworthy, honest, persuasive person, that you are manipulative?